Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael or Kubera, and today we're going to discuss the reason for March 12th, March 13th being the worst period for Bitcoin selling off. There's multiple reasons, with a mysterious illness that I'm not allowed to say anymore on YouTube due to demonetization. The Dow Jones, oil prices, the FTSE, NASDAQ, everything is just plunging all over the place, and we are approaching a possible recession. There's panic selling, and then there's scammers. So let's roll the intro and let's get into the details. And there's quite a lot for today's video, so stay strapped. So let's begin. Oh boy. This is going to be the end. We are going to discuss scammers, but just for you familiar with the situation, PlusToken did affect the markets, and we're going to discuss that. But first, I'm not allowed to discuss this, and we are going to have it in a video upcoming about multiple crypto YouTubers being affected by this, and hundreds upon hundreds of YouTubers, especially my other channel, all videos with the tags the illness that you all know that's coming from a specific Asian region will be demonetized, and that means no advertisements are playing, but YouTube also does not recommend the videos, and it gets limited views. Some are getting even age restricted because it's a sensitive topic. I did leave on the previous video some links for that, so if you're interested, but here are the current numbers, and it is quite a bit. We're approaching 145,000 cases, but there are some good news spread around, and here is one. A Berlin company got a head start, and there's a lot of tests all over the place. So they have produced 40,000 diagnostic kits, enough for 4 million tests. Each one is going to sell for $180 a piece, and that's enough for 800 tests inside. So hundreds of thousands have been tested already. It is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. That is the huge news, and with that, America has shut its border for the next 30 days. That has caused the Dow Jones to go into a free fall when it was announced. Here, it was at 25,000, and currently it's at 22,000, but it went below 21,500. And if we go further out, it was at 29,348. So we're close to 30,000. Now we're close to 20,000. And this is the craziest fall we've seen in years. For certain things, it's the worst action since 1987. For oil, we've seen the worst prices since 1991. Some have been saying that the worst trading days since 2008, depending on where we're looking. Here's the London FTSE 100 index. The past day, it's positive. There's been so much free falls everywhere where people have been trying to cash in on short-term profit, but overall it has fallen quite a bit. Here was at 7,403, and here it's at 5,237. One single day this past week on the London FTSE, $150 billion was wiped out, and currently it's over $500 billion, and this is just for the UK. Overall, trillions of dollars have been wiped out, and that leads us to the Fed is going to inject $1.5 trillion in a bid to prevent unusual disruptions in markets. Some people have complained, and they said this is very controversial because $1.5 trillion is needed to actually wipe out student debt, all student debt in America, but that's a different topic for another day. The Federal Reserve said it will make vast sums of short-term loans available on Wall Street and purchase Treasury securities in a illness-related response aimed at preventing ominous trading conditions from creating an even worse economic environment. A crypto whale calls Bitcoin halving pump a fairy tale, says only one thing will turn around the market. Where do you think the price will make its final low? When the real demand is equal to real supply, plus a delayed supply coming for people who held off for magic happening, plus liquidated miner collateral. Joe says it amounts to a fairy tale. Didn't you know? It's only manipulation when the price goes down. When the price is pushed up on zero volume while magic happening fairy tales are fed to you, it's not an attempt to ignite FOMO and trap retail traders. No. It's organic growth, and stock to flow model is highly scientific. Despite his sharp critique of the market, Joe says he remains bullish on Bitcoin in the long run, and he's ready to buy when fellow traders start running around in panic. The Bitcoin halving, by the way, is coming up, and it is going to be May 11th, 2020. Now, it just turned March 14th, so it's going to be 58 days. 19 hours. Bitcoin has dropped quite a bit. Ethereum has dropped quite a bit. A lot of cryptos dropped. And this was in response to the illness. This was in response to the normal market stocks being sold off. People were trying to cash in because if your area is getting quarantined where there's a lot of new countries and it's constantly growing, it's exponentially growing in certain areas, the hospitals aren't ready. People are trying to buy all the supplies that they can. I posted a video on my other channel where there's store, there wasn't enough supplies because people were just buying everything. So people want to have cash on hand, and they also see stocks are going down, they see cryptos going down, they see everything's going down. So it just exponentially grows on each other, and there's multiple issues that made this 24-hour period one of the worst periods ever. We see a lot of red here, but this has it improved over the past 24 hours because I'm recording this a little later now. Bitcoin is at 102 billion market cap and it dropped to 5,585, but it was as low as $5,000. It dropped to 6,000 very quickly, and a lot of people thought, wow, that's a flash crash right there. And technically it is still short term, but then it dropped from 6,000 to 5,700 to 5,500 to 5,400 to $5,000 within a matter of a few hours. Ethereum had one of its worst drops in years, and this was a horrible, horrible situation. Ethereum was below $120. The current market cap is $160 billion, and it was affected quite heavily. Over here in March 8th, it was at 251, approaching $252 billion. And March 13th, it was at $118 billion. It's recovered a little bit now at $158 billion. The 24-hour volume is quite crazy. It's $265 billion. Good news, at least views are up because of the illness and all the panic that's going around and possible recession looming around the corner. A lot of people would say this was coming because the Dow Jones was, going up for so many years. And a recession should cyclically come around every 8 to 12 years. Some people say that the faster a recession comes and the faster this illness gets over with, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. The faster we're able to get through this, the better it will be for the long run, as long as we survive. It's going to suck for the next few months, but markets will recover. Everything will recover. Humans will always continue to find a better way through this. And on top of this, I see a bright future for cryptocurrencies. But right now, it's so tumultuous. There's a lot of volatility all over the place. A lot of people are pulling out. Nasdaq made a small recovery over here. On top of all of this volatility, there's futures trading. So I mentioned in the previous video, we were going to dive into derivatives. That topic has pulled some interest on me as of late. And here is a good article that we're going to discuss in a future video. Futures are pulling cryptocurrencies out of the dark. I thought of that article because I was looking at this one, and the quote here where the real demand is equal to real supply made me think of this immediately, because this quote, talking to traders and market makers in major exchange crypto futures, suggests that open interest is real money investors, individuals and institutions transacting for their own accounts for long-term exposure rather than levered intermediaries making bets that might reverse tomorrow, putting in new money. At the moment, the $200 billion market capitalization of crypto probably represents only about $10 billion of real money invested. The rest is paper profits. This is one source of instability that makes crypto prices volatile. If open interest in regulated futures continues doubling, it represents a steadily increasing source of real money to stabilize prices. That doesn't mean it will push prices up, a point often missed by crypto enthusiasts, but it does mean whatever prices result will be more reliable. The problem with futures, though, is on top of all of these crises happening at once, the reason this 24-hour period was one of the worst days Bitcoin has seen in a very, very long time, everything was combined and people were greedy. They saw there was a lot of volatility, so there was a lot of liquidation happening with futures. People were trading on margin, they were trading 5x, 10x. You put in $1,000, and if you make 5%, great, you just made $50. If you lose 5%, you lost $50 and you're down to $950. But if you're greedy and you put in $1,000 and you trade at 5 times, you borrow, if you do a good position, you're able to, instead of earning $50, you're able to earn $500. But if you lose, well, it very quickly goes downwards. You can see how a couple wrong moves, you take too much of a loan and you're liquidated, you're left with nothing. And there was a lot of futures trading happening over the past 24 hours, but the final cherry on top, and a lot of people were downplaying this, it wasn't really in the news that much, Bitcoin dropped due to 13,000 Bitcoin PlusToken Scam, analysis say. I think this, in conjunction with everything, is the reason it was one of the worst days in crypto for a long time. So PlusToken was this big scam. And there was a Twitter account right over here, ergo, that was linked. 13,000 in new PlusToken mixer deposits in the last 24 hours. Almost all previous mixer deposit changes entered mixing, confirming his theory. Much slower than September and November for distributions. Around 13,000 Bitcoin, or roughly $210 million, was sold. That is a lot of money. So these scammers are looking for these days where they're able to hide their money and they're able to sell it, because it's very difficult to sell giant blocks, millions and millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin if you're a scammer. So that's why they went to multiple exchanges. They were waiting for a day where there's a lot of chaos. They're able to sell it quickly, sell in large chunks. And along with everything else, once the market saw that there was huge sell-offs, that's when panic started. Within an hour or two, boom, everything else was gone. It's like dominoes effect. So it wasn't just Bitcoin that was being sold, there was a lot of Ethereum as well. They are slamming the market with sell orders. Essentially, we have a giant whale unloading after every move up. 24-hour losses for Bitcoin investors totaled 9.5 at press time. During the worst 24 hours, we saw losses of over 40%. Currently, it's going up a little bit, 5,700 nearly. It's already gone up since we started the video. And that's that. There was a lot going on. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share. We shall see you guys in the next video. There's going to be a lot of action over the next coming weeks. And one thing I regret is not learning further about actual trading with cryptocurrency. I'm definitely not going to attack the programming aspect of it, but this I can learn. So hopefully we're going to have a little bit more technical videos over the next coming weeks. So please bear with me. Stay safe. Don't freak out too much, but follow what is logical and where you're hearing all over the place. So if you live in an area of the world where it's currently going through quarantine, I'd say stock up and stay inside. Hopefully you're able to work remote. There are some plus sides to this. The world is going to be more accepting of remote working and school, and it's going to be more prepared for further crises in the future.